Hey, thanks for joining us. This is your host, James. I'm so glad that you are joining us today, wherever you're from and however you're listening. We would love it if you would share this with your friends. It would really mean a lot to us as just we are trying to share the love and hope that we have in Jesus over the next few weeks as we navigate the coronavirus and what that means for us to be the church to our community and to the people around us. So thanks for joining us, and we'll get started. All right. Well, hey, good morning, Grace Fellowship. Today is Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in to the Rise Up podcast. My name is James. I'm joined by Pastor Tim.
Hey, James.
Hey.
It's nice to be here today.
Yeah. We are continuing on this week talking about some mental health issues that might be happening because of COVID and staying at home and isolation. And
Absolutely. When this first started, the major concern was health. Mm-hmm. People getting sick and losing their lives, and then it quickly turned into financial crisis, people losing their jobs and trying to figure out all this stuff. And now we're dealing with a lot of mental health issues, like anxiety and depression. We're going to talk about anxiety and depression this morning, last Monday, and I would encourage you to go back and look at Monday because we kind of outlined a few foundational steps to take in dealing with emotional and mental, struggles that we might be having. Get honest with yourself, get honest with God, and get honest with somebody you trust. Mm-hmm. But I introduced Elijah Monday into this. It's interesting, the Bible, New Testament says that Elijah was a prophet just like us. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for us to identify with him because he was such a powerful prophet. But his story in 1 Kings 19 was he did all these amazing things, and then all of a sudden he finds himself in a cave wanting to die. Yep. And most biblical scholars diagnose that as depression, that Elijah was depressed. And so depression is a thing. Anxiety is a thing. And even as Jesus followers, sometimes we feel guilty because we have these emotional struggles. We live in a broken world. Yeah. We have a broken system inside of us. Right. And so these issues of anxiety and depression and all other kind of issues are just simply a part of our broken human existence and experience on this earth. In fact, it's interesting, in 2 Corinthians, Paul talks about his own depression. Mm-hmm. It's believed that the Apostle Paul struggled with depression as well. And so anxiety and depression are just two major ways that we respond to the broken world. None of us want to be depressed or anxious, and God doesn't want us to be depressed or anxious, but the fact is we are, because we're broken human beings in a broken world. And so Jesus came to help free us from that. And so we need to be honest about that, to step out of the denial. So anyway, God cares about that. He cares about the overwhelming feelings of anxiety and depression. And so what I want to say first is underlying all of these issues really is stress. Yes. Stress. The ability, the pressure placed on us to live and to function well. Mm-hmm. We all live under stress. Now, stress isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be a bad thing. It can be a good thing. How can stress be a good thing, James?
So, like being an athlete or someone that lifts weights, if you don't stress your muscles, they're never going to grow. If you don't, stress working out or whatever, you're never going to grow. Like, you could do push-ups all day long. If there's no resistance, if you weigh nothing, you wouldn't be gaining any muscle. Or if you were just doing bench presses with maybe
So to grow your muscles, you've got to have stress on those muscles.
Yeah.
But when can stress be a bad thing?
Like something like stress fractures.
Yeah.
Literally in the name of it. Right. Lifting too much weight, something that causes your bones to break. And no one would ever say that a stress fracture isn't real.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the thing. We all need stress to function to our fullest potential. Yeah. But the problem of anxiety and depression comes in when that stress is too overwhelming. When we're facing too much stress. And so anxiety and depression is just the result of too much stress imposed either by the outside world, we're facing something that we can't overcome, or it comes from the inside world where we are placing on ourselves pressure in how we perceive our world. Yep. So let me give you a brief definition of anxiety and depression. There are several things that drive us either to anxiety or depression, but at the root of that is trying to control the stress that we're dealing with. Anxiety is a heightened fear of losing control. Anxiety is a heightened fear of losing control. You don't have control over what's happening in your life, and so you get frantic. This is where panic attacks come from, where your sense of things being so out of control that you cannot control, and so it shuts you down. I don't know if you've ever seen anyone in a panic attack, but they are just simply paralyzed by their emotions to deal with what they're confronting. Okay, so anxiety is hyper vigilant about the things going on. Anxious people are bouncing off the walls because they fear losing control. Depressed people, it's the same thing. This stress of losing control, but it goes inward. Depressed people are stuck. Anxious people are bouncing off the walls, trying to control their situation. Depressed people can't get out of bed. Because they can't control their situation. It's called learned helplessness. I can't do anything about it, so I'll do nothing about it. So both of these can be very pervasive. It's impossible to be anxious and depressed about one thing, because anxiety and depression just kind of bleeds into every area of your life. Then it affects all of your functioning, and so you're not in control. And so the things you can do, you don't do, because to be a depressed person, you feel like nothing will ever change. You can do nothing about your situation, and so it is what it is, and you're stuck. Okay. So, any questions about that?
No, but I will say, I would say I struggle more with the anxiety part of that, like the outward functioning, I guess. And it's weird. I mean, everyone's completely different, but my body tells me when I am stressed to the max, I have dreams about losing my teeth. Apparently, that's a stress indicator. Don't know why. Have had those a few times.
You still have your teeth, so you're okay.
I do.
Okay.
Or another thing my body does, I get a fever blister.
Okay.
It's like my body's way of telling me, like, slow down, like, relax. Like, it almost is to the point where, it hurts a little bit, so you can tell right away it's there. It's always in the same spot. Super weird. But, like, you have to find ways to recognize when you're in those moments.
The root of stress is on the inside, but it shows itself on the outside, and it does affect your mental and emotional and physical functioning.
100%.
And so you will either go to the anxiety part where you're trying to do everything, or it goes to the depressed part where you simply just do nothing. And so again, how do we deal with this? Either anxiousness or depression, it all comes from this fear of losing control, from the stress that you're dealing with in your life. And so I'm going to go back to the three things that we talked about Monday. First of all, you've got to get honest with yourself, and you've got to realize what's happening. You've got to don't live in denial. Don't excuse yourself. Don't say, well, this is what I've got to do because this is the only way I can function. You've got to recognize what I'm doing is unhealthy.
Right.
It is not producing health in me or in my relationships.
And I think with stress or with anxiety and depression, it can go both ways. I need to realize I'm doing too much or realize I'm not doing enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's life on the extremes. And so you've got to recognize what's happening with you. And then the second thing is you've got to get honest with God. We talked about that Monday. This is a spiritual thing in the sense that God is your source of life. God is the source of your peace and joy. God is the one who provides everything that you need. And so a lot of times when we're stressed and depressed, we think God has left us or abandoned us. It's all on ourselves. It's all on our own. And so first of all, we go to God as a spiritual issue, asking God to resolve, to calm us down.
Right.
Or to encourage us up. Okay, so there's no reason to feel guilty about anxiety or depression. we just need to be honest about it.
Yeah.
We need to talk to God about it. And then here's the third thing that we talked about Monday is getting honest with someone you trust. And that can be either personal or professional, and many times both.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody about this. Get this out. James 5:16, confess the brokenness inside of you. And a lot of that brokenness will lose its power. So do that personally with an accountability partner, but also do that professionally with a doctor who can help.
Yeah.
And if medication is part of that solution, I said Monday, the medical profession is a gift from God for our health. And so what I didn't do Monday is add the fourth one. So I'll add it today, and that is to act. You've got to do something.
Yep.
You can't just sit back and say, well, this is what it is. You can't be passive.
Right.
You can't be overreactive. You've got to do something in a healthy way to resolve either your anxiety or your depression. You mentioned, James, Monday, that about the invitation of Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come you who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. But an invitation has to be what?
Accepted.
Accepted. Yeah. The path to healing is just that, a path.
Yeah.
And a path has to be walked. And so what is it that you can do? Healing is a promise, but it's also an invitation. So this is one of the things, one of the reasons why I love Celebrate Recovery, and especially the Serenity Prayer. The Serenity Prayer is, God, help me to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That says to me, there are things I can do and there are things I cannot do. There are things I need to pursue, and then there are things that I need to release. And I need the wisdom of God to know what I need to be doing in this situation. So here's the deal with anxiety and depression. There is healing. Healing is a promise for us. God is the source of our healing. We can find victory over our anxiety and depression. But someone called it this way. It's an oven, not a microwave.
It's slow.
And if, as athlete, athletic illustration is, it's not a sprint.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
Yeah.
It's a marathon. And so it takes work and it takes time. And it takes these steps to admit our need, to acknowledge God, and then to attach ourselves to people who can help us. And so that's what I want to leave with all of us today. You may be going through this, or you may be in a relationship with someone who's going through this. If you're not going through it now, you'll be going through it later. All of us get anxious. All of us get depressed. All of us find ourselves at the edge of functioning. But sometimes those are chronic and severe. And so you need to take more deeper intentional steps to get out of that. And so we are here. We are a community to help each other pursue that path of healing. Yeah. And so I know we're not going to solve that in a 10-minute podcast.
No.
But I just want us to be aware of that and to be thinking about that, and then just to check our own spirits and to reach out to those who may be struggling with that and partner with them to bring about healing in their lives.
I love what you said. You said walk a path. We're in Psalms 23, lead me down a path of righteousness. Right. The thing about that, and it goes back to just an invitation, it's either you're going too fast, so you need to slow down and walk with me, or you need to get up and walk with me.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. In verse 2, it says, he makes me lie down. And then in the very next verse, it says, he leads me. So, there's a time to lay down, and there's a time to get up.
Yep. Yeah.
And so anxious people don't lie down, and depressed people don't get up.
Yeah.
So you've got to find out, you've got to ask God to lead you in that wisdom.
Yeah. It's really good. Well, thanks for sharing that, Pastor Tim. So, hey, check us out Friday. We'll continue on in this. I'm really excited about it. We've loved doing this week. Yeah.
Friday, we're going to talk about addictive behaviors.
Yeah. So don't miss that.
And we're all addicts. I'll talk about that Friday.
Yeah. So don't miss that. See you guys later.
See you.